Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. So got another deck profile. This one is for a deck and also an archetype as a whole that I have not played in quite some time, and that's going to be Runick. Particularly, we are on Bystial Runick. So, full disclosure, the whole reason that these games even happened in the first place is because, oh shoot. Oh, who was it on Twitch? I feel so bad for forgetting. We had a viewer over on Twitch who offered, I really wish I could remember who exactly it was. I apologize to that person, who, this was also like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago at this point, who offered to gift subscriptions if we played a Runick deck for a little while. And it had been quite some time since I've played Runick, because I gotta level with you all. I'm not the biggest fan of playing this archetype. I think that, like, I don't have anything against, like, control decks, and I certainly don't have anything against Runick in particular. In fact, I've often been the one who's, like, kind of defending Runick a little bit against, like, the unnecessary amount of hate that he gets. Just people saying that, like, oh, Runick is inherently broken because they have a card that draws 3, and it's like, well, yeah, but it's behind certain conditions, like, Ursartic has a card that draws 7, that's not inherently broken because, again, it's behind a certain set of conditions. Now, Fountain is, of course, a lot better than the Ursartic card. I'm not going to pretend like they're the same, but, I've often been someone who says that Fountain does not need to be at 1, that this hit does kind of feel like Konami telling people, like, okay, move on and play a different deck and buy some packs, please. And I do very much feel that way. Runick, I think, gets a lot of flack because of Runick Stun, and because people don't like seeing their cards get banished, like, which, I don't know, is understandable, but at the same time, as I've always said, we can't let decks that we hate be the only things we want to see get hit, and vice versa, because that's just not objective or critical thinking. That's saying, I don't like this, so nobody should ever be allowed to play it ever, which I've said in the past and I maintain I think is a kind of a childish mentality. But, as far as Runick itself goes, I will say that Fountain can't be at 3. I think it could be at 2 with all of the other kind of restrictions on the Runick quick play spells in place. However, if Fountain is going to be at 1, then a lot of these restrictions can be lifted. Like, Runick Destruction at 1 is frankly ridiculous. If Fountain's going to be at 1, this card could definitely be at 3, Slumber could be at 3, and debatably maybe Freezing Curses could also be at 3, but yeah, I think if you bring Fountain to 2, then you have to keep all of these limitations in place. Honestly, I think Fountain to 2, Tip to 1, Destruction to 3 would be my ideal way to do it. But anyway, yeah, I don't know, like I said, in spite of the fact that I will defend Runick in its place on the ban list, I'm, like I said, also not the biggest fan of playing it. I just think that Runick decks tend to be a little bit boring sometimes. However, I will say that this is, I think, the coolest of the Runick variants. That's going to be Bystial Runick, which was, of course, first popularized. I was going to say invented, but let's be real, somebody before Joshua Schmidt probably made a deck like this before. But it was very much popularized by Joshua Schmidt, doing very well in tournaments with a very similar list. So the idea here is that we're making use of the Runick spells to turbo out some non-tuner bodies, and then we're actually using Bystial / Albaz lore in general level 4 tuners to be able to facilitate those. On top of that, we do also have the Bystial engines who act as more non-tuner bodies, as well as also more disruption as well. The Bystials are honestly pretty relevant forms of disruption in this meta, even against fire decks like Snake Eye, right? For being able to eat the IP out of the graveyard and kind of stop your opponent's plays from there. So mainly the thing that you're looking to do is open with Quem, and then from there you can send like the Golden Sword Soul, blah, if I can talk here. Or you could also play, if you wanted to, Bystial Aliber as well, which I almost did because I have a royal copy of it, but from what I understand, Golden Sword Soul does end up being slightly better, so I opted for that one. Yeah, a lot of the deck building advice I got for this build here was from chat at the time that we were throwing this list together. Although I think I actually pulled this list from Untapped, like one that was doing particularly well, if I recall correctly. So, but it's a fairly standard list here, honestly, for Bystial Runick. Like, we got the level 4 tuner package. We have all the Bystials, all the relevant ones here, as well as your hand traps and then your Runick stuff. Like, again, I think this is pretty basic when it comes to this style of deck here. I will say that even though we are a more combo-y version of Runick, I think this is very much at its core still a control deck. So while you will be able to have occasional games where you can put out 8k worth of damage on one turn, the thing is that you won't often be able to then even OTK that same turn, because of course the Runick spells do require you to skip your next battle phase. Also, don't be like me whenever I play Runick and forget to actually click on battle phase. You need to do that because it skips your next battle phase that you go into. It doesn't skip that turn's battle phase automatically. So, like, if you're in main phase 1 activating Runick stuff and then you go straight to end phase, you will then still have your next battle phase skipped on your next turn, even if you don't activate another Runick card in between. So, I don't think we have any games here that are going to show me, like, you know, making that mistake and it costing me the duel or anything, but that is something that has happened to me playing Runick decks in the past. So definitely make sure that you're keeping that in mind, to actually click on battle phase to make sure that it does get skipped, right? Okay, for the extra deck here, again, it's actually pretty standard. There's not really anything too atypical going on here. In that regard, I actually don't really have much else to say about the list. This is one of those times where I just wish I knew a little bit more about this deck to be able to talk about it. I wish I had some more kind of personal hands-on experience, but at the same time, I don't really want to get that experience because I kind of don't like playing Runick. I've always thought it was kind of funny that, like, I kind of hold the same opinion a lot of people do have about Runick, that it's boring. But again, my whole thing is that I don't let the fact that I think this deck is boring affect the kind of, I guess it's all subjective to a degree, but I try to remain as objective as possible when making my own evaluation of what should or shouldn't be on the ban list. And again, with the current restrictions under Runick spells, Fountain could come back to 2. If Fountain's going to stay at 1, we can lift a lot of these restrictions on most of the Runick spells, and it would be fine. So, alright, let's break down the list card by card, and then we will look into those games. We're on 3 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 1 Incredible Ecclesia, the Virtuous, 1 The Golden Sword Soul, 3 Guiding Quem, the Virtuous, 1 Bystial Magnum Hut, 1 Bystial Saronir, 1 Bystial Druid Swarm, 1 Bystial Baldrake, 3 the Bystial Lubellion, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 1 Runick Fountain, 1 Branded Regained, 2 Called by the Grave, 2 Runick Tip, 3 Runick Flashing Fire, 1 Runick Destruction, 2 Runick Freezing Curses, 2 Runick Slumber, 3 Runick Smiting Storm, 1 Runick Golden Droplet, and then 3 Runick Dispelling. That's going to do it for our main deck. For the extra, we're on 2 Hugin the Runick Wings, 2 Jerry the Runick Fangs, 1 Sleipnir the Runick Mane, 1 Coral Dragon, 1 Tri-Edge Master, 1 Psyframe Lord Omega, 1 Baron de Fleur, 1 Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign Shengying, 1 Bystial Dispater, 1 Chaos Angel, 1 number 41 Baguska, the terribly tired Tapir, 1 SP Little Knight, and then 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. There's our list. Let's see these duels now. Okay, our first opponent is going to be on Makonko, and rocking cards like D-Shifter and Feather Duster that you really don't want to see as the Runick player. But we could take the first turn here and open a very nice looking opening hand here. Gonna lead with, of course, the Runick Fountain. Opponent's going to chain the D-Shifter, but thankfully we did open one of our call buys. This could have very easily been very, very bad for us here, but called by comes to save the day. Alright, there goes Shifter, and we can make plays. What I'm going to lead with here is the Runick Tip to search out the Golden Droplet. Basically, mostly just wanted to get a card here to... Oh, I actually gave them the draw effect? Did I misclick? No, I guess I just... Oh, no, I gave them the draw to trigger the Dispelling. That's what it was. That's why I did that. Okay. I was like, why did I actually do the draw effects? Would I not just summon Jerry here? But no. No, yeah. By giving them the draw off the Golden Droplet, that will, again, trigger the Dispelling to banish a card from their hand as well as a bunch of their cards from deck. We've already hit all three of their Ashoka Pillar. Huli and one of their Ohimes each are in here. Very glad to also see the Feather Duster in here as well. Drawing 3, and that will lead us to some more concrete plays. I get to know some of the Quem, use my Bystial to banish the Golden Sword Soul that we send, then Synchro off for the Bystial Dissipator. The reason you want to summon Dissipator here is because now you can use Dissipator to bring back that Golden Sword Soul that you banished. And ideally you would have the ability to further Synchro with like another Bystial or Runick spell here, but I drew Dispelling, which I'd already activated, so no such luck there. Looks like they're going to Extrav and then throw it down to the D-Fissure here. Definitely would have chained Max C to the D-Fissure because I'm not going to be able to Max C again after the Dimensional Fissure resolves. Dimensional Fissure also not ideal for this matchup, but I didn't mention it because it doesn't banish our spells like Shifter does, so... Okay, here, I'm going to activate the Dispelling as they summon the Huli. Now I can get a Jerry to help kind of protect my board here a little bit more. They have a Gamma Seal to get rid of the Jerry, though, so, again, not ideal, but I can bring back the Quem here, and then use Quem to send another Quem from the deck to the graveyard. Kaiser Coliseum will stop me from playing any more monsters, and they set 2, and during the end phase, I'm going to Slumber and mill them a little bit more, and then activate the Fountain, putting back 2, and then drawing 2. So yeah, this is a pretty big yikes. I mean, between the Kaiser Coliseum and the Dimensional Fissure, those alone are already going to hamper my ability to actually make combo-y plays on board, even though we're not under Shifter anymore. They also have 2 more back rows, and of course a Makonko monster to worry about as well. Here, I'm going to use Smiting Storm and banish some cards from their deck. You might already be able to see where I'm kind of going with my game plan here. I'm just going to Smiting Storm, banish, and then pass back over to them. Now they have 12 cards remaining in deck. They're going to move to battle, hit my Gamma Seal, their Gamma Seal on my field, rather, again, to deal another 2200. But one thing that's actually pretty nice for me here is that by setting 5, my opponent has effectively locked themselves out from playing any more spells and traps, which is going to hinder their ability to have any kind of, like, plays, even if they do find something to stop my board state. But as we can see, this is banishing more and more and more and more of their deck. Their double-edged sword is actually already in the yard, or already banished, I guess, more aptly. So they already are not able to OTK anymore in a game state like this. Axe of Fools is in here as well. Yeah, they're just losing more and more and more and more and more of their equipped spells. Putting back the Smiting Storm to draw a card before passing back over to me. They have 6 cards remaining in deck. We're going to link off the Quem and their Kaiju here to go for SP Little Knight. I should have done this earlier to minimize the amount of damage I was taking, but I didn't really think of it until this turn. So 5 cards remaining in deck, and they concede right here. They don't even want to try to keep playing through my stuff, but we still had, of course, quite a few things here to kind of banish cards from the top of their deck. It was, we had Flashing Fire and Freezing Curses, that's 2 and 3 respectively, as well as another Dispelling for another 2. I think they had 5 cards remaining in deck. One thing that you do have to keep in mind with the Runick spells is that they have to banish, like, they banish the number of cards that is written on the card, right? So, for example, if I wanted to Freezing Curses when my opponent had less than 3 cards left in deck, you can't banish cards with Freezing Curses. Like, you just can't do it. That's kind of one of the reasons why Smiting Storm is so good, is because it says banish up to the number of cards you control. So, like, if they have 6 cards in the field but only 4 cards left in deck, you can choose to banish 4 of them, right? And that way you don't miss out on the opportunity to get rid of the rest of their deck. But I think they just kind of sensed at this point that the inevitable is going to happen, that they are unable to finish me off on this turn, and with only 5 cards remaining in deck, it was fairly unlikely they were going to be able to win before the deck out. Now, I will say that deck out is not the most common win condition of this particular Runick variant, but one kind of nice thing about playing Runick in general is that you can always play the long game. Like, you can always play the grind game as long as you have Fountain, and you will eventually win by decking your opponent out. So I think that's kind of one of the reasons why people don't like playing against Runick, is that you're inherently on a timer, right? And if you don't finish them off quickly enough, you're going to lose your whole deck. Which, again, I understand the frustration. It is understandable, for sure. But we still have a couple more games to see, so let's check those out. Alright, our next opponent is going to be playing Labyrinth. So it's kind of a bit of a control mirror. I don't know, Bystial Runick, like, yeah, I would still call it a control deck, but it's kind of control combo, a little bit. Anyway, here we open Fountain and a bunch of Runick spells, so we certainly don't mind seeing something like that. Here they are going to use Arias instead of Ariane, as well as their Stovey Torby, setting the big Welcome Lab, normaling the Ariana effect to add the Coup Clock. All kinds of trap activations happening on turn 1 here. Coup Clock will activate the big Welcome that was set to summon and then bounce the Lady. This will proc both Ariane as well as the Stovey Torby, and of course the Lady Lab herself in the hand as well. Alright, so Lady Lab comes down onto the field, Stovey Torby will summon itself back, Ariane draws and then sets before passing back over to me. Alright, Guiding Quem was actually probably the best possible top deck we could have gotten there. Because, again, we already had Fountain plus 4 Runick spells, so, like, we're already good in that regard, right? All we needed was the Bystial / Tuner part of the package, and then we found it. So, I'm going to use the Destruction on the face down card. I was a little surprised to see my opponent bounce their own monster instead of mine, but I mean, we'll definitely take it. This will trigger both the Ariane and Ariana effects. I guess that's why they did it, but still a little surprising. So you get to summon the Lady in attack mode and then set 1. Smiting Storm here is going to activate. They'll chain Stovey Torby, I guess to minimize how many cards are getting banished, but it just means they lose 5 instead of 6, right? We're definitely glad to see that Eradicator Epidemic Virus go, by the way. Definitely not trying to deal with that as a Runick deck, so. They have Coup Clock in response to the Fountain. This is fine. Getting to draw 3 off the Fountain is pretty good here. That is, of course, the main reason why I used Smiting Storm when I did, so. Alright, we're going to use Dispelling here to go for the Hugin. Then I'm going to use Quem to bring back the Golden Sword Soul. Alright, from there we get to go for the Tri-Edge Master. Tri-Edge Master effect to draw a card, then sync it with the Golden Sword Soul to then go for the Baron de Fleur. Alright, I'll target the face down Welcome Lab here. I'm not even going to negate it with the Baron though, I'm just going to chain the Maxi instead. Alright, they get to bring back Arias, that's fine. But, yeah, I was like, I don't really need to negate the Welcome here, right? Like, if the Welcome summons, like, Lovely and they try to pop that, I can just negate that. But, they summon Ariana here. Anyway, I get to Druid Swarm. And then bring back Quem. Sync off for another 10. This time it's going to be the Chaos Angel, which will let me banish the face-down card, as well as Druid Swarm allowing me to send a monster. And from here, they're just going to concede, which is kind of funny because I didn't even have a battle phase. So, like, we banish the face-down, and then we Druid Swarm send the Lady Lab, but they're still left with a ton of materials on field. I just thought it was a little bit of an early concede from our opponent here. But even though our opponent conceded a little bit early against this board, this is not the last that we've necessarily seen of them. Let's find out what we mean here in the next game. Okay, it's probably pretty easy to figure out what it means. It means we're playing against this person again. Certainly does not happen all the time, but every now and then you do get matched up against the same person more than once, and that happened here. So, playing against not only Lab again, but again, the same Lab player, same build too. So, going second against them. This hand on their part is looking a lot better. Ariane pitch transaction rollback. Summon Ariana to add Welcome Lab, set 3, and then pass. Our hand is definitely not quite as good as last time, but it's still not bad at all. I'm going to lead with Guiding Quem here. They're going to use the Infinite Impermanence to negate her. And then also activating Welcome Lab at this moment for the Lady Lab. Gonna pitch Bystial Runick here to go for the Druid Swarm. Runick Slumber is being activated, but they chain Maxi. Not ideal, but what I can do is I can just get out the Druid Swarm now and avoid giving them at least one draw. Okay, here's Hugin. Hugin F will send the Sarnier to try to add the Fountain. They're going to chain Big Welcome, which will also proc the Lady Lab here. Alright, setting D Barrier, which is actually not that big of a deal against this deck. It might seem like it is, but like even if they call, you know, Synchro or Fusion or whatever, you can kind of usually just chill with Runick spells until the D Barrier wears off. Okay, here they're going to use Lovely Lab as well as Ariane, as well as Ariana. I'm definitely going to Freezing Curses the Lovely because I do not want my Fountain to get sniped from hand. They have a Lady Lab they can summon from hand, that's fine, not that big of a deal. Okay, Freezing Curses to negate as well as, of course, banish a few. Setting one of the cards drawn. There's Lovely getting negated, and then Sarnier is going to send another Lubellion. Alright, putting down the Runick Fountain, I'm going to tribute off the Druid Swarm for a Lubellion here. This will give them a draw, but it lets me send the Lovely, as well as activate the Branded Regained from deck, so I think it's worth giving them one draw. Here they're going to chain with Stovey Torby to set their own field spell, the Lab. Druid Storm sending the Lovely, Lubellion, there's Regained, and we are going to Synchro Summon again here for the Chaos Angel. Not using the Quem, we're just going to use the Lubellion plus Hugin. I definitely want to Chaos Angel the face down field spell. I don't want that to resolve and give them more summons as well as more pops as well. Got the Dispelling in response to the Transaction Rollback. They're going to summon Arias in response to that. Dispelling to banish and then also banish from top of deck. Chaos Angel getting negated here. But we do, most importantly, proc the Fountain for a draw 3. On top of that, we also get to Regained and Chain Block the Fountain effect as well. Getting to draw off and summon off of Regained here. So I'm very, very glad I set up the Regained. It lets me get back Druid Swarm. I get to draw, and then I get to draw some more. Actually, not the best draws here. I would have really liked to have seen a Runick spell. Gonna make the Sheng Yang. Again, I am giving them draws off of Maxi, but like, this is fine. I'm really not concerned about it. I think it's worth setting up a more advanced board state here. And yeah, like I said, they can call Synchro off D-Barrier if they want to, but it's not really going to do anything. Because I can still sit on my... Well, I don't have Runick stuff to sit on here, though, which is kind of the scary part, right? We do have Maxi and Ash Blossom, though, so there is definitely quite a bit we could potentially do here. Indeed, I will throw out Maxi, so that way the Stovey, we can get a draw off of that. They're going to use Terrors of the Overroot here, which is a little bit scary. It's going to get rid of my Chaos Angel, but... Oh, and they set the Eradicator. I forgot about that, too. And they reset the Maxi. Maxi does still resolve, though. Welcome Lab sets itself. Stovey Torby summons itself. I get to draw, and I get a Runick spell from it, too, which is really, really good. They get a couple more draws here, setting again. I'm going to use Branded Regain to bring back the Druid Swarm again. They are chaining the Stovey, which is fine with me. Setting another Welcome Lab. They have 13 cards left in deck. Okay, Regained brings back Druid Swarm. They're going to go for the White Woman Jump Scare, which is really surprising here, actually. Like, because I can still get rid of it with Druid Swarm. Oh, no, I can't. Oh, wait, huh? Doesn't this target? Unless they target this card. And this targets. It wasn't made with IP. There must be something going on with that. I don't know. That's... Unaffected by your opponent's activated unless they target this card. Target one special summon monster. Yeah. There must be something else protecting it that I'm not aware of off the top of my head, but... Yeah, I should have used Smiting Storm sooner. I could have sent like 8, I think. 8 or 9. Oh, no, it does send. Okay, it was just part of the same chain link. I just had to click the play button, that's all. But this will proc both the Brain Regained and the Fountain for even more draws. Opponents only had 8 cards left in deck. Okay, normal summon Ariana, and then they're going to go for another piece of furniture here. Battle phase, they do battle over Max C. And then, yeah, in phase, we get to pop, and they concede again. So that would have been banished 4, leaving them at 3. 3 cards left in deck. They would have drawn 1 from turn, so we only need to banish 2 more. Dispelling can banish 2, but it can only activate, of course, when the opponent adds a card, so I can't just do that whenever. I mean, to be fair, I have a lot of cards in hand. The opponent is probably just assuming I have the other Runick spell I need to completely deck them out, but that was not the case here necessarily. But, I mean, even then, it probably wouldn't have been that difficult to survive through to their next turn. Even if we didn't top, or through their next turn, even if we didn't top deck another Runick spell, just because of how many, or how few resources, rather, they have remaining at that point. So, okay, that's going to do it for these games. Thank you so very much for watching. Let's go ahead and just move now to our outro. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for supporting there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details again will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description linked below is my Twitch page where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.